Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first Dream Up of 2015. I'm Marissa, the Event and Community Manager here at DreamHost. We're so excited to have Brent from Cloudflare joining us today, as well as our VP of Brand and Community, Brett Dunst. You probably know him from the newsletter. Please feel free to type in any questions, and we'll ask them as we'll answer them as we go along. You can also follow the conversation on Twitter at #DreamUp, and you can also follow our Twitter handle at DreamHost. And now to Brett.
Hey, so thanks everybody for joining us for another Dream Up. We're here with Brent from Cloudflare. We've heard from a lot of our users that Cloudflare is fantastic. They love it. They love what it does for their sites. It boosts performance like crazy, but they're not really sure how it works. And then there's a lot of our customers who could be using Cloudflare and could really benefit from what they offer, but may not understand what it is or how it works either. So Brent's here to kind of give us a quick overview of what Cloudflare is, what it can do for you, how much it costs, all that good stuff. So he's going to kind of walk us through it with a couple of slides he's put together. And please feel free to submit any questions at any time through the Q&A thing. We'll be watching that. Don't feel like you have to wait till the end. Go ahead and send your questions in, and we'll get them answered for you. All right, so take it away, Brent.
Thanks, Brett. Thanks, Marissa. First of all, thanks for having me. It's great. We love working with DreamHost. You guys are a fantastic company, and your customers are awesome. And this is a great opportunity for us to show what Cloudflare can do for your customers, and for people who are already on Cloudflare, we can walk through some of the options that they may have missed the first time around. We want to make sure they're optimized for everything that you can do on Cloudflare. So I have a couple slides. Let me try to figure out how to share my screen so you guys can see them as well. And we'll just kind of walk through these as an introduction to Cloudflare. Okay, so everything coming through okay?
Yep, looks great.
Okay. So basically I'm just going to go through how does Cloudflare work? What's the service like, and what can we do for you? And that's really two main focuses: performance and security. Also, how to activate Cloudflare if you're a DreamHost customer and you're not currently on Cloudflare. It's very easy to set up through DreamHost, your interface. I'll show you where that is. And some popular use cases that we see a lot of people using that we think Cloudflare can help out. And then, of course, if you have any questions, please just interrupt me. You probably have to scream at me a couple times. I might be in the flow. But I'll stop and we'll answer questions as they come along the way. So, first off, what is Cloudflare? How does it work? Well, Cloudflare, we're here to build a better internet. Our service is really focused on a couple things: increasing performance of websites so we can deliver websites to visitors faster, and also deliver those websites safer, so we can block malicious attacks, DDoS attacks, and just keep the web a friendlier place to be. And we're trying to make that as simple as possible. So that's sort of the core of what Cloudflare is. And we do this by kind of sitting at the network level. So Cloudflare is a network of a bunch of data centers that are made up. And we have your visitor traffic pass through us before it gets to your website. The opposite of that, of course, is being not on Cloudflare. And you see that on the left side of the screen, where traditionally a visitor would type in a website address to navigate to your website. It would go through a couple routing centers and then wind up getting your content and sending it back to the visitor. And that's great, but it does have some downsides. You could be going through a slow interaction. Maybe you have to go through a couple different routes before you get to that website. It really slows down the loading of the content. And it leaves it open for attackers. Or a little red man on the bottom here could be visiting your website to inject malicious code, or trying to flood your website with requests so you can't serve the good guys, the good content. And then, of course, crawlers and bots have access as well. And most of the time we want those because that helps with their search engines and statistics, things like that. At Cloudflare, we sit at the network level, and we're sitting between your visitors and your website. So what happens, instead of that request going direct to your website, that request will go through Cloudflare first. And that does two things. First, we can cache some of your website content. And because we have so many data centers that are spread out globally, we can serve that content up a lot faster to your visitor. and eliminate a lot of the lag time that would be needed to go to your website, get all the web material, and send it back over. But importantly with security, is that we can see who these visitors are, and if we consider them a risk, we would assign a risk assessment to them, and then depending upon your security level that you choose, we can block that internet content from reaching your website. So that means we're blocking the attackers, we're blocking the bad bots, things you don't want to your website, but we're letting your visitors come through, as well as we're accelerating that content that gets to them. So if you look at it sort of where we are in the world, right now we have 32 data centers spread worldwide, and that does a couple things. If you imagine that your website is hosted on a server, let's say in Los Angeles, people around that area, on let's say the west coast of the US, would be able to receive your internet content fairly quickly because they're just geographically closer to the server. If your visitor is coming from somewhere else, let's say Stockholm, that internet request would, if you're not on Cloudflare, would have to go all the way across the Atlantic, get routed to the west coast, and then be served up and come back again. And that adds a lot of latency and slows down your site. With Cloudflare, however, that request would go straight to the Stockholm data center that Cloudflare has, and any cache material you have would be served immediately to the visitor. And then anything that's not cached, we would, of course, receive from your origin server like a normal request. But this speeds up the process quite a bit, and on average, websites see about a 2 times increase in performance. The additional benefit to our global data center is we run an Anycast network, which means that any of these data centers can serve up your request. It doesn't have to go through a specific route. And that there's 2 advantages there. If there's a lot of traffic going through one data center, we can route it around that and go to another data center and increase your performance that way. Another advantage is that our network kind of acts as a gigantic kind of sponge for DDoS attacks. With a DDoS attack, so distributed denial of service attack, a bad guy's flooding your website with requests. A lot of the times the website can't keep up, and it's frozen, and it just kind of essentially goes offline. With the Anycast network, if we see that DDoS traffic, we can kind of spread it around our network so it doesn't bog down one particular site too much, and we can keep everyone online, which is a big advantage. And so in regards with performance, because we have so many data centers spread around the world, that means they're closer to your visitors regardless of where they are. And we can serve up cache content that would be resting on each data center. And that means static content for the most part. So that would be like your CSS, JavaScript, and images. And I mean, you can appreciate websites today have a lot of images with them and a lot of complex JavaScript and structures from the CSS. Those can be just about immediately pushed to your visitor. And any additional content that's not static, we could do a traditional request and fill it out that way. And that really increases performance. It cuts down on the requests that are sent over to your host server, and it saves you a lot of bandwidth at the end as well. And the really nice thing is that we have really minimal configuration. If you sign up through DreamHost, it's a one-button click, and everything's set up for you. And if you want to, you can go in and kind of customize things, but for the most part, a lot of our users just leave it as the defaults, and you get increased performance and increased security all in one go. And we don't kind of hog things. Cloudflare can work with really any other solution you have as well. So if you have an analytical package or you're using another CDN solution, you can piggyback that with Cloudflare and have benefits on both sides. And so not only do we increase performance by being closer to where your visitor is, but that cache content can be loaded in Cloudflare more efficiently and delivered to your visitor more efficiently. We have a couple technologies to do that, and we call it, in a general sense, web content optimization. So one of those technologies we call Rocket Loader. And sites today, you have your images, your content, but there's also plugins like Facebook like buttons, Twitter or LinkedIn buttons as well. If your website was not on Cloudflare, it would have to be a request for each one of those components to be loaded to the visitor. Cloudflare speeds up that process quite a bit by calling out for those requests in the Cloudflare network and then delivering it to your visitor all in one all in one request. So it's not and constant pinging back and forth. You're getting sort of a download of the content to the visitor at one go. And that adds up quite a bit. You can see on this example on the right, we're saving 110 milliseconds of time for loading just by loading all that stuff together in one session. And then that's mostly for static content. If you're loading dynamic content, and that would be something, as an example, let's say you're on Amazon and you have something in your shopping cart. That would be something specific to your session that's dynamic content because it's always changing. With dreamhost, you also have the ability to speed up that as well with a technology we call Railgun. So on the top image here, if we pretend this visitor is on Cloudflare, but Railgun is not being used, the static content that's been cached in Cloudflare, the orange cloud there, will be pushed to the visitor, and anything that's dynamic or specific to that one visitor's visit will do a regular request to the origin server and load it through our network that way. With Railgun turned on, however, the connection between Cloudflare and the origin server is really accelerated by a combination of compression and turning on what is really a WAN network. So we're establishing a consistent sort of tunneled connection between the origin server and the Cloudflare data center, and that allows that content to flow very quickly to Cloudflare, and then Cloudflare, of course, being close to your visitor with the 32 data centers, will push that content to your visitor that much faster. So it's an excellent advantage to joining Cloudflare on DreamHost. That's an option that, if you were to sign up through another means, would be one of the higher tier service options that you guys get for free. And then on the security side, because all that content incoming request goes through Cloudflare, we can sort of screen it for a lot of different things. We can eliminate content thefts, cut down on content spam, absorb DDoS attacks. If we see a lot of traffic coming in through a few particular IPs, we can limit the incoming from those areas and stop a DDoS attack. And other things like SQL injection or cross-site scripting attacks as well. So there's a lot of things that we do automatically that for a DreamHost user, you don't have to worry about. All you have to do is set your default security settings, and Cloudflare takes care of the rest. I know there are a lot of WordPress users on DreamHost, so this is a good example for them. Something we've done in the past, in April 2013, there was a brute force attack through an admin portal that was a vulnerability of WordPress. Cloudflare is able to patch these things through our own network, so you don't have to worry about upgrading your WordPress version or checking for patches all the time. Cloudflare can do that for you, and it eliminates a lot of the burden on the website webmaster, because they don't have to constantly fret about keeping everything to the latest and greatest. It's a safety net that Cloudflare can provide for you. And in addition to that, the graph here is showing a website that was hosted on WordPress, and you can see when they turned on Cloudflare, their comment span dropped dramatically, because we can screen for those as well. So content spam can be coming from anywhere, but it's typically silly ads coming from certain IPs. We would see that, we could block those, and then it wouldn't show up on your statistics, and keep your blogs nice and clean. And that works because Cloudflare's network is a learning network. Because we see a lot of the internet traffic, we see over 5% of the internet at any given time, we can see these patterns developing before they become a problem. The graph here is showing that a website has a surge in traffic with the green line. Maybe it's a holiday sale, or they've had a marketing promotion, or just a popular blog post, and those visitors increase. And Cloudflare can see that increase. We can see the increase of bad traffic, as we defined it, and then we would ratchet up what we're blocking for that, and it would match the corresponding trend. So we would block all of those attackers that are kind of seeing your website because it's now more popular. And we do that for everyone as well. And you can adjust how these settings are performed through your Cloudflare settings. So if you wanted to, you could go into cloudflare.com, log into your account that you've set up through DreamHost, and you can alter, here we're showing the basic protection level on the security settings. So our default is medium. We do have low and essentially off if you want a minimal blocking or screening of content, or if you think you want something more, there's the high mode. And of course, if you're seeing a lot of traffic increase, some of it may be malicious, you're getting attacked, you can switch to I'm under attack mode. And that way we can screen all of your traffic. We're going to challenge all the visitors. They're going to be sent a CAPTCHA. They'll have to pass that to get through, and then they're sort of put into the safe zone so that if they revisit, they'll be cleared. But that way you're blocking the bulk of the traffic that's coming at you that's bad, and you're letting the good guys come through. Another thing that Cloudflare can do is, because we have that cached content on our data centers, if for whatever reason your website goes offline from your home server or power outage or what have you, we'll have a cached version of that on our network, and then people visiting your site will see something that looks like this. It's the cached version, and they can click the little green button to retry for the live one to refresh. And that's great for people who are running businesses or want to have their web pages online at all times. So again, it's like a safety net, so you can make sure that you have web presence in the event of something catastrophic, which is a nice bonus. And you can always go into Cloudflare and check who's been visiting you. So we can track good visitors. We're typically humans, I would assume, hopefully anyway. Threats that are coming to your websites, engine crawlers, and it gives you a good cross section of the type of visits that happen to your website. And you can use that again in conjunction with other analytic packages if you'd like. So the benefits overall, you're seeing a 2x increase of website performance because of the global content delivery network that Cloudflare is built around. Because of that, you'll see 65 less requests, 60% savings in bandwidth. We're securing you against common threats that happen throughout the internet, because we can see all that traffic and block it before it actually gets to your website. And because our network is so large, we can protect you from DDoS attacks. In fact, I think just the other day we were protecting a site from a 400 gigabit per second DDoS. That's some of the world's highest that have been recorded so far. The Cloudflare on DreamHost, it's easy to get to. You just go to that web address that's in the bottom right, dreamhost.com/partners/Cloudflare. It'll give you some information on the service there, and you can sign up direct on a DreamHost website. Once you get to your kind of options in DreamHost, it's a simple one-button click. Enable Cloudflare on this domain. You say yes. That's for the basic plan, which is absolutely free, so there's kind of no reason to try it out for a little while, if not keep it on forever. And we also offer a pro plan, which you see on the bottom there for subscriptions. And I believe that's $9.99. That adds a couple extra things. We have some technologies that will accelerate mobile content, optimize that for you. And we also offer SSL, so secure traffic, through the pro plan. That's an option.
I think we should probably mention too that free plan is free forever, right? It's not a free trial. It's an ongoing benefit that anyone can take advantage of just by clicking a single checkbox. So that's pretty helpful.
Yeah, it's free for life. So yeah, it's for me. If I'm hosting websites, of course I'm going to be biased, but I would say turn it on and forget about it, because it's a nice thing to have in the background, and you're going to see performance gains. I can promise you that. And speaking of which, one of the common reasons for people looking at Cloudflare is to speed up their website. It's a CDN. It's a next generation CDN. So we can bring your website closer to your servers, regardless of where they are. So we've just opened a couple data centers in South Africa. I don't even remember. I think New Zealand may be the last one we opened up, and we're on track to open several more throughout the year. So our network is only increasing in size, and that again speeds up your website about twice as fast and makes it a lot lighter weight on your home server. And because it's a one-button click, it's super easy to set up. You just have to say yes. Another thing we see a lot of is people running promotions, or they're expecting a lot of traffic to come in, and they want to make sure that their website can handle that increase of traffic. Cloudflare, again, can really help with that. You can cache a lot of your static content on the Cloudflare network. It's closer, it's on the edge. And there's also a couple options to cache aggressively or less aggressively. If you cache more traffic, you're going to see a benefit in speed, obviously. And so if you have a one-day sale, if you're doing e-commerce, or your blog for whatever reason wound up on a news channel and became wildly popular, just sign up with Cloudflare, and we can help absorb that traffic and keep you online so everyone can see to your website. If you've been hacked or there's a risk that you can be hacked, Cloudflare is a fantastic solution for that. Because we see so much of that internet content coming in, we can block the bad guys, let the good guys go through, and then that I'm under attack mode, again, it's so simple to do. You just go to your options, click I'm under attack, and then you're going to be covered for anything that's happening in real time. And that's good graphic. If you remember a while back in 2011, the PBS site was hacked, and Cloudflare could help with that, mitigate that attack traffic. If you're running a business, if you're doing e-commerce, Cloudflare is fantastic on this as well. To keep your website online, because with the DreamHost cooperation, we're able to do Railgun dynamic content acceleration. That really increases performance of e-commerce sites. There's statistics out there that if performance degrades and there's an online shopper, they're more likely to leave and go somewhere else for shopping. So you want to avoid that as much as possible. And with the static caching from Cloudflare, the Railgun dynamic caching, that performance increases quite a bit, and it will really keep people engaged in your website, and you'll see a benefit there for certain. And so just kind of a summary slide. We look at the security risks that are happening throughout the internet. We can block a lot for those, mitigate DDoS attacks, and then we have the SSL option if you go with the Pro plan on DreamHost. Performance gains through content delivery and the web content optimization. And both of those kind of work in conjunction to keep your website available as much as possible. So that's the name of the game. You always want web presence so you can, broadcast to the world, I suppose. And that's all what Cloudflare is about. We're trying to keep that as simple as possible for you, so you have a real benefit on the service. So I think now's a pretty good time for some questions and answers if we didn't have any questions during those slides.
Any questions from the audience? Anyone at all? Nothing? Nothing?
There we go.
Cool. All right. So I have a question about Railgun. I guess why is, and this might be a more technical question, why is Railgun considered separate from the core Cloudflare service? Like, what does it? I know it works with dynamic content. Mm-hmm. But is there a reason for keeping that separate versus integrating it into the core of Cloudflare?
Yeah, right. So for Railgun to work, there needs to be a Railgun listener installed on a host server. So that would take some cooperation for whoever is going to be hosting that content. So we can't offer it for everyone by default. It would take some installation on a host server's doing. But that's something that DreamHost has done. And so the way Railgun works is a Cloudflare network will look for that listener, and when it exists, it will set up that tunnel, the WAN network, really accelerating that content transfer, which ends up being dynamic content that we're loading. And that's once it's in the Cloudflare network, we can push it to the visitor that much faster.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Cool. Well, if there's no more questions from the audience or Marissa, then yeah, I think that's good. Thanks, Brent. That was a really comprehensive overview. I think it was extremely helpful, especially if there's people out there who aren't really familiar with Cloudflare or what it does or how it works. I think you walked it through in a way that made sense in plain English, and that was super helpful. So,
great.
Hopefully, a lot of our users will see this and consider adding it to their own accounts. Again, it is extremely easy. It's a single click in your control panel. You saw a picture in the slide earlier. You can check out the DreamHost wiki. We've got some installation instructions there as well if you get stuck. And again, Cloudflare itself, the basic service is free forever. You really only have to pay for doing some more advanced stuff with, SSL or whatever. But yeah, it's a great thing to add to your account. So thanks, Brent.
My pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Marissa, you want to?
Yeah, and we will also. Yeah, we'll follow up with a blog post that will have the link to the YouTube as well as a list of question and answers. So if you had questions later, you'll be able to follow up there. So thanks again for everyone for joining, and Brent, thank you for stopping by.
Thanks so much for having us. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
See ya.